Please welcome Jackson Gillman.
Thank you very much, Angela. And it is a privilege to be in the august company of so many fabulous storytellers from all over the world. So I'm very grateful for this honor. I'm going to be sharing 4 related pieces, and they're all very short. I was introduced to the first one by storyteller Maria Lobiando, and she heard it from her grandfather. There was a farmer working in his field along a road which was rarely traveled. One day, there was a stranger walking by, didn't even wave back, so the farmer went up to him and said, "Where you be coming from, sir?" "Grasberg." "Oh, what's it like there?" "Oh, it's a hard scrabble place. People don't have much, and they're fighting each other for every little scrap there is. People talking behind your back, stab you there if you're not careful. What's it like up in the town ahead?" I think you find it pretty much the same there and wherever you go. Went back to work, and another stranger walked by. This one waved back to him, met him halfway. "Where you be coming from, sir?" "Oh, Strasbourg." "What's it like there?" "Oh, it's a hard scrabble place. People don't have much, but they're grateful for what they do have, and everybody's looking out for each other. They've got each other's back. They'll give you their shirt right off it if you need it." "Well, what's it like in the town ahead?" I think you'll find it pretty much the same there and wherever you go. Now, that's not a tale of 2 cities. I call that a tale of 1 city by 2 men. And it well illustrates a saying from the Talmud that we see the world not as it is, but as we are. Speaking of we, wow. We have been in the company of so many storytellers, and we've seen and heard so many stories, a lot of them about what can happen when people divide themselves between a we and a they. And this next little ditty is actually titled We and They, and it sheds a colorful light on this divisiveness. And it's written by Rudyard Kipling. Father and mother and me, sister and auntie say, all people like us are we. Everyone else is they. They live over the sea, while we live over the way. But would you believe that they look upon we as only a sort of they? We eat pork and beef with cow horn handled knives. They who gobble their rice off a leaf are horrified out of their lives. They who live up a tree and feast on grubs and clay. Isn't it scandalous? They look upon we as a simply disgusting they. We shoot birds with guns. They stick lions with spears. Their full dress is un. While we dress up to our ears. They like their friends for tea. We like their friends to stay. And after all that, they look upon we as an utterly ignorant they. We like kitchen-y food. We have doors that latch. They drink milk or blood under an open thatch. We have doctors to fee. They have wizards to pay. An impudent heathen, they look upon we as a quite impossible they. All good people agree, and all good people say, all nice people like us are we, and everyone else is they. But if you go over the sea instead of over the way, you may end by, think of it, looking upon we as only a sort of they. Well, I love finding pieces like that that say a lot with very few words. And this next one I was introduced to by storyteller John Sanders. And he's an aficionado of Gianni Rodari. Rodari was an Italian writer. And he was well known and all over the world because many of his stories were translated in other different languages, but never in English. Well, in the mid-20th century, perhaps it was because he was perceived politically as a they. Now, an English translation is coming out in September, and information about that is on the chat. And with Enchanted Lion Books' permission, this is my adaptation of 1 and 7. I met a child who was 7 children. He lived in Rome, and he was called Paolo. His father was a trolley conductor, and his mother was a baker. She also lived in Paris, and she was called Chantal. Her father worked in a car factory. Her mother cleaned houses. But he also lived in Berlin, and there he was called Kurt. His father was a cellist, and his mother was a doctor. And she also lived in Moscow and was named Sasha. She was raised by her father, who was a bricklayer and also tutored math. But he also lived in New York and was called Malik. He lived with his grandparents and he helped them out in their convenience store. Now, how many have I said? 5? There's a couple more. One was called Chen. She lived in Shanghai. Her father was a fisherman. Her mother sold fish at the market. And the last one was Juan. He lived in Buenos Aires. And his mother's painted houses. Paolo, Chantal, Kurt, Sasha, Malik, Chen, and Juan were 7 children. But they were also the same child. One who was 8 years old, already knew how to read and write, and could ride their bicycles without their hands. Paolo had reddish hair. Chantal was brunette. Kurt was blonde. But they were the same child. Malik had dark skin. Chen's was lighter. But they were the same child. The movies that Juan went to see were in Spanish. The ones that Sasha saw were in Russian. But they were the same child. And they laughed in the same language. Now all 7 of them have grown up. And they can't imagine making war on one another. Because all 7 of them are the same child. When you were a child, no matter what country you're from, I'm sure that you learned your country's anthem. In the United States, from early on, we all learned our Pledge of Allegiance. Well, we're coming to realize how critical it is that we think globally. So, allow me to switch globes here. to one that I like a lot better. Do you see any border lines on this one? No. This is the astronaut's view of our little blue ball. It affected them profoundly. And it can also offer up us a perspective on this beautiful planet that we have the good fortune of being on for a little while, and hopefully doing it a lot more harmoniously than we've been doing. So I propose that we add another pledge to our repertoire, one that takes a broader view of all the inhabitants of our lovely home here. And those include people from other cultures, other religions, and also other species who have just as much right to be here as we do. Now, this is a photo of my daughter holding up the globe. Well, I've asked her here again and drafted her again to be my atlas one more time. And I am going to invite you to place your hand on your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the web of life of which we're each a strand, and to our planet Earth, on which we stand, one ecosystem under the sun, interdependent, with diversity and respect for all. Oh. And now, to close, I propose a toast to our stories, and to the hope that they dissolve borders and walls that can divide us, and help bring us all closer to becoming we.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.